Stephen and I were just talking to one of Stephen's disciples who said something interesting that I found amusing. He said he doesn't want to expose people to the podcast before they get to meet Stephen in person, because he feels that the podcast is so harsh and hard to hear for people who are not prepared for it. And, well, he's right. The podcast is not meant to gain disciples. It is not meant for the general public, for people to just kind of hear out and about. It is for the disciples, for people who already know us, for people who have an understanding. To rebuke, to correct, to encourage, to teach, to preach, all of the above. The podcast is very diverse. We have all kinds of messages. Some you're going to get the fire of God. Others you're going to get a kiss and a hug. Some are going to stir you up, some are going to calm you down. But he's right about what he said. I don't want them to hear the message until they get to know you. Well, isn't that the whole point with God? Think about it for a moment. How are you supposed to get to know God? You think you are going to get to know him by reading about a message? Or are you going to get to know God by actually spending time with him? And which is the better way? See, many people, they come to know the Lord by reading about the destruction of the flood of Noah and the slaughter of the Amalekites and all of these other judgments that he did on his people. And they think this is God. Well, yes and no, it is a part of him, but it's not all of him. The Lord is so much more. If a human preacher is so much more than the podcast that is posting, and obviously this disciple has walked with Stephen multiple times and he's seen all sorts of things happen. He's seen people being hugged, people being blessed, people being rebuked. He's seen people getting upset, people run away, people come back, people cry. He's seen many things, and even yet he hasn't seen all things because there is so much more. Just walking with Stephen. And I remember when I met Stephen. In the beginning, it seems harsh, and he does put on that side of him first to see if you're sincere in your seeking. He doesn't lay it all out, get all lovey-dovey with you, huggy-buggy. No. But if you're sincere, if you can take it, then the love becomes more evident. And that's how it is with children too. When they're young, you gotta be a little harsher on them to get them to act right, the discipline. But once they're young adults, once they're mature, you don't have to be so hard and disciplined. You can be more lovey-dovey with them. It's just the nature of relationships. And so the Lord, the point of the scripture was to get us to know him. And we've said it before, the Bible is not a children's book. You don't open up the Bible and start telling your children about Sodom and Gomorrah burning up. That's not for children. That's for the adults. It's history. It's not a religious book. It's history of things that happened here on this earth. Just like you don't open up and tell them about, the Genghis Khan slaughtering people or the Assyrians impaling people alive. You don't teach that to your children, do you? But why would you teach the Bible? The point being is that we need to know God through experience, because there are many sides to him. I've heard it said before about 4 blind people that saw an elephant. Well, we didn't see an elephant, but they felt an elephant. One felt the tail and said it, the description of what he thought the elephant was. Another felt his tusk. Another felt his leg. Another felt his, what you call that, long nose. I forget what it's called. That long hose of the elephant. See, based on what you experience is what you're going to think the elephant is. But the truth is the elephant is all of the above and more. And if that's just an elephant, how much more so with God? You're not going to get to know God. We are continually knowing God. It's a continuous process. And you ought to approach it by getting to know him personally and intimately before you just read about him and think you know him. So yes, it does make sense. And as men of God, when you actually read the scripture, the people in the scripture didn't do what we do. They didn't read about God. They experienced God, and the scripture was written after the fact to document how they experienced God. David was not reading the Psalms, quoting them, singing them. He was living them. What is he talking about? The Lord is my shepherd. I am his sheep. He is my leader. He leads me. He guides me beside still water. It's an indication of a relationship. The relationship wasn't because of something that he read or quoted. It was because he had a relationship, and hence he wrote about the relationship. And you have to understand that, or else you're never going to get God. The Lord is an intimate relational God, just as we are. We are created in his image to have relationship, to love, to be loved, to have fellowship. So remember that. Know God through experience before you ever know him by reading about any of his messages or listen to any of his words. That is for the disciples, for those who already are in the family, in the knowledge of God. Those who already have a relationship. Now you can read it and have a proper understanding of the context of what is actually being said. And that's the only way to approach God and read the scriptures. Hallelujah.